Mark Lane has actually worked with the Daytona Beach News Journal since 1980 as a reporter, copy editor, editorial writer, associate editor, and columnist. He retired in 2022 and still writes a once-a-week column and freelances. His book on Florida symbols, Roaring Reptiles, Bountiful Citrus, and Neon Pies, was published in 2019 by the University Press of Florida and won the Florida Historical Society's 2019 Charlton Tebu Book Award. Please join me as we welcome Mark Lane.
Thank you for showing up today. As the man said, my name is Mark Lane, the person who wrote the book Roaring Reptiles, Bountiful Citrus, and Neon Pies. And I'm here to talk about state identity and, of course, pies. I've been Metro columnist of the News Journal for a long time, and column also appears in other Gannett papers. I write about Florida politics, culture, alternative gardening, and why we're like that. And so here I am, an adult with a day job, and I wrote a book about Florida state symbols, so let me defend myself here. Florida is a place always in transition. Only about a third of us were born here, and that often leaves a lot of us confused about our identity, what kind of place we are. And over the years, our legislators have tried to help us with this, and the results have been kind of mixed. And as part of this project, the legislature's put forward a lot of official state this and official state that, and the essays here are an attempt to kind of decode these. And you'd be amazed at how, over the years, session by session, these things have piled up. So in the book, I debunk the fake history behind our state pie, point out the mountains in our old state seal, and talk about the payback politics behind our state bird and cringe at our state song. Your legislature spends a lot of time and effort on these exercises, so somebody thinks they're worthwhile. And although we laugh off strictly symbolic politics, we're perfectly willing to fight over them. And I got interested in this because News Journal used to send me out to help cover the legislature during the session, and there's this mezzanine where you can look down on the movement on the floor below, and you can lean on the railing there over the rotunda, which you should do if you ever around visit Tallahassee. It's one of the state's great people watching spots. You see lobbyists lobbying, aides aiding, administrative assistants assisting, reporters reporting. All these people milling around to keep the machinery going. And if your eyes wander to the walls, you'll notice that there's this list on the wall of official state stuff. It tells you on the wall that it's April 2nd is State Day, and God We Trust is the state motto, Sunshine State is the state nickname, Orange Blossom is the state flower, and of course Key Lime, the state pie. And these are just the greatest hits because there's only so much wall. And but like creating specialty license plates, declaring an official state object is legislative work that makes somebody happy. It doesn't cost anything, and who doesn't enjoy that? But also each one comes with kind of the power to help define the place. So Florida's always up for trying on new identities, and in a pinch we'll dress up in borrowed clothes and try somebody else's identity. We're the Old South. No, we're the bright American future. We're like the rest of the nation. No, we're proud exotics. So there's room here for improvisation. But I'm here to warn you that branding is not for amateurs, and as some state senator or rep will find out each session, consider It took 18 years of on and off debate before our leadership decided on an official state pie. Think about that the next time you wonder why we don't have national health care. And that's the first chapter of the book, because this has all the themes that wind through the narrative. North Florida versus South Florida, our love of fake history, and how tourism marketing defines us. I live on the coast, so I have a surf town guy's outlook, which means I love the steak pie. It is, as the late Senator Larciana Bullard declared, the pink flamingo of Florida food. I think it should be on our flag instead of that mess of a state seal. You know, you look up at a flag and there's so much stuff in the state seal, it really does look like a plate of scrambled eggs. A key lime pie mixes the natural eggs, limes, and the manufactured. Kryptonite green food dye in inauthentic versions, sweetened condensed milk in all versions. So think about it. It takes the exotic, hard to find key limes, the mundane eggs and graham crackers, the tart limes, the sweet condensed milk, the cracker, graham, and the tropical limes. It's a pie that requires the output of two separate factories, a condensed milk factory and a place that bottles key lime juice. Because really, for a convenience dessert, who goes out finding and squeezing key limes? Make that the result of three factories, because you want a pie crust from Publix because that's how Mama made it. And like Florida's population generally, the ingredients come from somewhere else. The limes are mostly from Mexican groves. Nobody grows key limes in the Keys anymore. Most of the groves were wiped out in Hurricane Andrew, and the real estate's too valuable to just put trees there. It can look garish when it's tarted up with food coloring and poofy whipped cream, or look bland like a faded wallpaper yellow on the outside, hiding the rich pleasures within. But there's controversy. It turns out that North Florida people who live in the Interstate 10 belt, don't identify with key lime pie the way I do, which is why it took repeated tries before the legislature bestowed official state symbol status on it in 2006. That late, people think that was always our pie. The pie ran up against the political power wielded by North Florida legislators on behalf of pecan pie, because pecans are grown in North Florida, a delicacy of the Old South that straddles the gooey line between pie and candy bar. Overcoming North Florida resistance was actually one sign of the big shifts in state power and taste, as Florida went from rural and North Florida to urban and South Florida and coastal Florida. So we were unable to get an excellent state pie until we had court-ordered reapportionment, a term limit, and some major population shifts. But it happened, you know. The year that the pie finally claimed its place in the pantheon of Florida official state symbols, state legislative researchers made this claim on its behalf in the bill analysis. Every bill gets a bill analysis, which I read greedily, does my homework for me. In the bill analysis said the first key lime pie was created in the 1850s in South Florida. And you'll see this repeated in recipe books and news stories, but the pie's key ingredient, sweetened condensed milk, was not patented by Gail Borden until 1856 and not commercially available until after the Civil War. And even then, not easily found on a grocery shelf until sometime at the early 20th century. So the idea that this was, that some books claim that it was invented by Aunt Sally, a cook for William Curry, the wealthy Key West salvager and businessman, but So where did she get newly invented condensed milk in an isolated southernmost island in the nation that didn't have a road or railroad until Flagler built it, and so probably that's not how it happened. But you know, Florida's oldest tourism tradition is putting on the tourists. So, and our second oldest tourism tradition is laying claim to be much older and venerable and have a much more colorful history than what we laughingly call reality. Living in a place that was only sparsely settled before World War II, Floridians sometimes wish they had a little more Southern history and tradition than we actually possess. We try to get the ante without the bellum. It turns out it was probably an improvisation to deal with local conditions, not much fresh milk. You can actually make one without an oven because the acid in the lime interacts with the condensed milk and will solidify. The earliest printed cookbook references are from the 1940s. If it existed before then, nobody was saying so in print. The recipe of the pie, the one that really established the basic pie recipe that I found, was from the Key West Women's Club, a spiral bound, written out in longhand, book published in 1949, and you can find copies in used bookstores still. It's a really neat book about old Florida recipes, and it even has, I think, two recipes for how you cook sea turtle. It says they're pretty chewy, and it recommends beating it with the edge of a plate to get it right. I can't vouch for that, but that's what they said. That's what the lady said. The earliest reference in media that I can find, and the one that Oxford Dictionary cites as the earliest printed site, is in the New York Times in the sports section in a column about the joys of bonefish fishing. But here, but it was like an exotic, little-known thing in 1950s, and then by 1970s you could get one in the frozen food aisle, which to me represents both home cooking at its finest. And another North Florida fight, North Florida, South Florida fight, broke out over our state tree. You know, if you were a tree, what would you be? And if you are a Central or South Florida legislator in 1953, it's easy. We're a sable palm. They're everywhere. You see one, you know you're at home, except in North Florida, in which case you'd feel more piney. And some biologists say that a sable palm actually isn't I'm not going to say that word. It's not really a tree. It's more of a grass. Which is, so why make it the state tree if it's a very big grass? And so that's what the North Florida people said, and then Miami said, well, royal palms, but you know, everyone ignored that because that's Miami. So the debate went on for several legislative sessions, but the sable palm won out and is now a unifying symbol. And I feel that way because I have a couple in my yard, and that were there when I bought the house, and I feel that way too because I married an alumna of Sable Elementary School in Brevard County, and they even have a school song, S-A-B-A-L, 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 and Sable is its name. What kind of bird are we? That's more sensitive. This state is a birder's paradise with big white snowy egrets that you might find just standing on cars in a Walmart parking lot. No need for binoculars. We have flamboyantly pink roseate spoonbills hanging out in drainage canals and dancing. Sandhill cranes that will do a little dance if you catch them in the right right mood. And great blue herons that really, if you're up against them, look as big as Big Bird. Lines of brown pelicans that fly along our beaches in graceful undulating single file. And yet, what's our state bird? It is the plain old mockingbird, same as 4 other states. It's a choice that sends a message to birders. Nothing to see here. Oddly, for reasons that are like really too obscure to get to in a short talk, the choice of a new state bird got tangled up in, of all things, environmental and gun control politics. Marion Hammer, powerful former National Rifle Association lobbyist, opposed the change and even did opposition research on the proposed substitute, the Florida scrub jay. The Florida scrub jay is like the only bird that's found only in Florida, no place else, and you can see them in West Volusia too. She told legislators that jays eat the eggs of other birds. That's criminal conduct. It's robbery and murder. She described the birds as lazy and displayed a welfare mentality, taking treats, you know. She even came close to calling it a liberal, but that was too far. So no elected official wanted to get dragged into that fight, and so it just failed. Session after session. Last session, Jim Mooney, Viola Murata, put forth a bill with a compromise to honor 2 birds with 1 bill. The American flamingo, which is really our unofficial state bird. It's on the lottery tickets. And the Florida scrub jay would be the official state songbird. Now, it's a stretch to call the scrub jay a songbird. Its call kind of sounds like an old-fashioned alarm clock being wound. If it's a songbird, it's the Bob Dylan of songbirds. But hey, if that moves the thing along, I'll go along with the compromise. But even then, even this session, the legislation went nowhere, and its sponsors promised to come back. So that's good. And what kind of marine mammal are we? That's easy, the manatee. And really one of our state's spirit animals. Mellow creature, floats along, doesn't bother anybody. But boats do run over them all the time. I did the math, and last time I counted, there are 6 manatee license plates issued for every living manatee. But I think the most unifying official state thing is our official state nickname, the Sunshine State. People think that we've always been the Sunshine State, but really it kind of popped up in the 1940s. In 1949 it was put on our license plate. And really, you know, it's a great slogan, the best we could steal. Florida, California and New Mexico were already using it, and South Dakota, of all places, not only used it, but had it on its flag. But here's the thing, so completely did we steal the slogan, so overwhelming was our tourist promotion that by 1992, South Dakota gave up and redesigned its flag. I mean, why even try anymore? They hauled down their flag. Before World War II, Florida was known as by all kinds of sobriquets, the Peninsula State, the Everglades State, the Alligator State. Nothing stuck. And many businessmen decided that highlighting your biggest swamp and scariest reptile is not always the best pitch for moving local real estate or attracting tourists. So since 1949, I have Sunshine State identity stamped into my consciousness, and I assume that that's what we always were, because I've driven on the Sunshine State Parkway, drilled my kids in the school Sunshine State standards, cheered the Embry-Riddle University Eagles playing in the Sunshine State Conference, wrote extensively in defense of the government of the Sunshine Law, and as somebody who was a child in the 1960s can sing "Come to the Florida Sunshine Tree" from memory. The sunshine thing, symbolized by our smiling sun wearing shades that you see on every tourism map and state attraction postcards. It's inescapable. It's Florida's identity reduced to one of the ancients' four elements. We are fire. It encapsulates our single best comeback when people complain about things here. Yeah, but it's bright outside most of the time. You can't argue with that. Sure, we're a bright spot for crime, drugs, poor mental hygiene, political bad craziness, state and municipal corruption, heedless driving, poorly maintained infrastructure, underfunded schools, environmental destruction, sinkholes, lightnings, hurricanes, sharks, tornadoes, and pythons. And sure, the sea level rise may cause the entire coastal enterprise to slide into the sea like Atlantis. But damn, it's nice and bright outside. So at this point, let me stop and take questions you might have about the books, the book, the column, the state symbols, and men's fashion. Anything you feel like? Yes.
Just a comment. Today I was doing a program at the lighthouse, at the Consummate Lighthouse, on flags. And we got to the Florida flag, and one of the folks in the audience, a very heavy southern accent, asked me, what the hell is that thing in the middle?
Well, yeah, the state seal, and originally our flag was just a white flag with the state seal in the middle, and then they said, well, you know, you can't see it well, and you know, just put a red St. Andrew's cross there. But the state seal was adopted during Reconstruction and was hired out to somebody from out of state. And so they came out with this seal that had steamboats, orange trees, and mountains. And so if you look at the pediment of the old state capitol, you'll see palm trees, orange trees, and Indians and mountains in the background. And it wasn't until the 1970s that the state seal got modernized to reflect the fact that you'd have to really work to find a mountain in Florida. I'd say the mid 70s. Another question.
Another comment. The cross that, of course, the saltire that's added, actually from research was added because the rest of the flag was white, and the flag, according to some legislators, looked like a surrender
flag, which we did, I'm all for flag redesign. We had an original flag, our first draft of a flag pre-Civil War was just a mess. There were just all these things in it, and it had the slogan "Leave us alone."
Is that true?
Yeah, no, it really is. And nobody liked the flag because that was also a political party slogan for the Whigs, and so the Democrats said this is the Whigs being Whiggish, no example of the flag exists. We just have a picture of it. It bombed as a flag. Another question. Yes.
I'm contemplating strongly becoming a Winnie gardener. And I guess I need some advice. How do you get yourself to the place where you can, in good conscience, watch your wife go out and do all the work in the yard and still sleep at night?
Well, my second wife, when I remember pulling into the yard of my second wife and seeing this pitiful yard, and I thought, there's somebody I can work with. So yeah, that's not a problem. I was a single dad for a long time, and with twins, and my time was between the job and the twins. My time was spoken for, and the idea of spending a whole lot of time on the yard and getting up early on Saturdays was not going to happen, so I had to change my expectations and then come up with a philosophy to justify it. And it worked. I still live that way. Another question.
Are you still married?
In the very back.
You had a bit of a cringe take on the state when you refer to the state song. Without explaining that, should we revisit that?
Yeah, the state song, if anybody wonders, is the old folks at home, and it's not about the villages. It's about longing for the old plantation, which makes, it's traditional during gubernatorial swear-ins to have the state song sung, and I think it was I forget whether it was Rubenescu or Graham suddenly looked at the words and got uncomfortable, and so they changed the state came up with a Boulderized version that didn't sound so much like the old plantation, and it still didn't work. So there have been attempts to change the state song, and unsuccessfully. It just runs into traditionalist opposition, and so we still have that as a state song with lyrics altered so that people don't feel that uncomfortable. Thank you so much.